Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something fundamental. This idea most of us have that, success and happiness, they're waiting at the finish line.
But what if that's not quite right? Or maybe even fundamentally misses the point?
Exactly. We're exploring excerpts from a text called The Striving Self, A Theory of Becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal here is to unpack these ideas for you, to see how shifting your focus away from that fixed destination, that I made it moment.
Towards the actual process, the motion, the evolution.
Yeah, how that shift could change everything about how you see yourself, your life, your whole journey. Let's get into it.
Okay. So the text jumps right in, challenging this tendency we have to put all the value on the outcome.
Right, the trophy, the promotion, hitting the big goal. We separate the doing from the being that results.
And the source says, well, maybe we should dissolve that line entirely. Maybe that destination, that made it moment, isn't really the core of it.
An illusion, even.
In terms of where the real value lies, perhaps, the central idea is that the self isn't some static thing you achieve. It's more like a verb, continuous.
A verb,
Yeah.
always becoming self, not being a self.
Precisely. You're always in process.
So if the self is always in motion, always becoming, does that mean there's no stable you?
Mm-hmm.
And where's the satisfaction or happiness in just constant change?
That's the fascinating part. The value, according to this theory, isn't in hitting some final state. It's actually embedded in the process.
In the process itself.
Yes, in the, let's say, the recursive act of aligning yourself with your own evolution. The joy isn't really in arriving. It's found in the becoming.
Okay, wow. That kind of flips the script on how we think about rewards.
Yeah.
Usually it's do the hard work, then get the happiness prize at the end.
Exactly. And the text points out, if happiness only depends on arrival, it's incredibly fragile.
Right.
There's only one summit, maybe just a few winning moments. Very scarce.
Makes sense.
But if you find the value, the happiness within the motion, within the becoming, well, that's different.
How so?
It becomes renewable, self-generating almost. You don't use up the process. It's always available.
Okay, I'm starting to see it. And the source uses analogies to make this clearer.
It does, from really diverse areas, which is cool. Think about quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Particles aren't just fixed points. They exist more like a cloud of probability, a state of becoming. Potential everywhere, not just one defined spot.
Interesting parallel. What else?
Well, there's Buddhist philosophy.
Yeah.
Finding peace often involves letting go of intense craving for specific outcomes.
Right, non-attachment.
Yeah. That aligns really well with valuing the striving itself without being solely hooked on the end result.
And video games, too, you mentioned.
Absolutely. The deepest satisfaction often comes not just from winning, but from being in that challenge state, that flow, fully immersed in the process of playing.
Yeah, that flow state is powerful. Even like a tree.
Even a tree, it's not a finished product. It's constantly becoming through growth, seasons, change. It's all process, not a static achievement.
Okay, so these examples really paint a picture. It leads to this core insight, right? There was a quote.
Yes, this really crystallizes it. Happiness is not a trophy, but a tuning fork. It resonates when we are in harmonic motion with our evolving ideal.
A tuning fork. Wow.
Yeah.
That really lands differently. It's not something you get at the end.
Yeah.
It's something that vibrates while you're moving, showing you're in tune, aligned.
Exactly. Happiness becomes less of a destination and more like a side effect, a resonance. It tells you you're moving congruently with who you're becoming right now.
Not just when you finally get there. It reveals your identity as you're evolving.
It really drives home that the journey, the becoming part, that's not just the road to the good stuff. That is where the richness is.
So as you go about your day, maybe think about this. Consider what it means to view your own identity, your own happiness, not as some final place you have to reach.
But as this ongoing process, tuning in.
Yeah, tuning into your evolving self. What might that perspective change for you starting today?